One of the PlayStation 4's main selling point this generation has been its incredible lineup of exclusives, and that's all we're going to be talking about in today's video. Specifically, we're going to be looking at the 10 highest rated PlayStation 4 exclusives ever. Now, there are a couple of barriers. We are not going to include any remasters, however, remakes are good. There's a distinct difference. For example, the Uncharted Nathan Drake collection is a collection of remastered. Last of Us Remastered, obviously a remaster. Games like that will not be included. Also, games must be PlayStation 4 exclusives. They cannot be on PC. In the case of one of these games, it did release on the PS3 and PS4, but it released day and day, and that is a Sony exclusive, so I'm gonna include that game anyway. And all the scores we're looking at are coming directly from the average scores over at Metacritic. So we're gonna go from the lowest rated to the highest rated, and without further ado, let's get right into it. So when you can start off the top 10 lowest rated PlayStation 4 exclusives with an Uncharted game, you know you're doing pretty well. Number 10 is Uncharted: The Lost Legacy. Currently sitting at an 84 on Metacritic, Uncharted: The Lost Legacy was originally planned to be just a DLC pack to Uncharted 4, more on that in a little bit, but then Naughty Dog turned it into its own expansive experience starring Chloe Frazer and Nadine Ross, two integral characters of the aforementioned Uncharted 4. If you like Uncharted, it's gonna be right up your alley, and I think that 84 on Metacritic is well deserved. Moving on from that, number 9 is Ratchet and Clank, currently sitting at an 85 on Metacritic. This is a fantastic remake. This is not a remaster. We already saw Ratchet and Clank remastered on the PlayStation 3. We got that Ratchet and Clank collection. This game, on the other hand, Insomniac went back to the drawing board and they recreated Ratchet and Clank ground up for the PlayStation 4. And right away, when you look at this game from a visual standpoint, obviously it's a PS4 game. This was not possible on the PlayStation 2, but what it does retain from Ratchet and Clank, the great platforming, zany weapons, and humorous story, that's all here. Honestly, from a personal standpoint, I think that 85 is a little bit underrated, considering the fact this game was released at a budget price point of $39.99. I just thought it was a fantastic game. But hey, 85 is still a really great score, and it earns the number 9 spot. Speaking of Insomniac games, they did Ratchet and Clank, well, they also did number 8. Marvel's Spider-Man is at an 87. Might be a little surprising to you guys that Marvel's Spider-Man is all the way down at number 8, but that's a testament to how many great PlayStation 4 exclusives have been released this generation, and Insomniac's Marvel's Spider-Man really did the Spider-Man IP justice. Was it perfect? No. I mean, that's evident by the 87 score. If it was perfect, it would be at the high 90s. However, it did really lay a great foundation for the Spider-Man games going into the future, because this is definitely not the last we'll see of Insomniac and their work on Spider-Man. Combat in this game is great, the web slinging is top-notch, and the additional content outside of the main story is pretty well done. The main story content is great, and the story itself is very engaging. A great cast of characters here, and of course, it's a must-play PlayStation 4 exclusive in my opinion. Moving on from that, number 7 is Horizon Zero Dawn. That's sitting at an 89. If you told me that Guerrilla Games was gonna move away from their sci-fi first-person shooter series in Killzone, a very popular and successful series, and move on to a post-apocalyptic open-world action-adventure title with mech-like dinosaurs, I would have told you they're crazy, and there's no way this game's gonna turn out that great, but lo and behold, we got Horizon Zero Dawn, and it turned out to be a tremendous game. Credit goes to Guerrilla Games. We've seen a lot of studios in the past, they rest on their laurels just because they have a successful IP. They'll milk that IP into the ground, and I think Guerrilla noticed that for the time being, they went as far as they could with the Killzone IP, so why not move away from that and create something so different? And Horizon Zero Dawn, another game that's not absolutely perfect, but it set such a great foundation for Horizon in the future. Obviously, this is going to be another integral franchise to PlayStation, and I'm sure we'll see more games. We have a great story here, the exploration is top-notch, there are some gameplay issues, but it's a minute issue given the overall quality of the game. The 89 is absolutely deserved for Horizon Zero Dawn. Moving on from that, we have Tetris Effect at an 89. I am not the biggest Tetris fan in the world, but man oh man, when I first saw Tetris Effect and I listened to that music, I was instantly captivated. And then you throw in the incredible VR layer to this game, which VR, by the way, with Tetris Effect is completely optional. You can play the game with traditional controls with no problem, and it's very good, but VR just adds another layer to the experience. It's a fantastic game that, while retaining the fundamentals of Tetris, it also modernizes it and makes it an even more engaging experience in 2018 going into 2019. It is a tremendous game, and whether you're just a fan of puzzle games, whether you're a fan of fantastic presentation, whether you're a fan of Tetris, it's really accessible to anyone, and again, a very well-deserved 89. Probably would rate it a little bit higher. I mean, what is really wrong with Tetris Effect as a Tetris game? I can't point towards much. Off the top of this video, I said that remakes are good to be on this list, so of course we're gonna mention the Shadow of the Colossus remake done by Bluepoint Games. That is sitting at a 91 on Metacritic. Shadow of the Colossus is one of the most iconic PlayStation games of all time, released all the way back on the PlayStation 2, done by Team Ico. The game was heralded back then. However, if there was one criticism with Shadow of the Colossus, it was from a technical standpoint. Not the fact that it wasn't visually impressive, it absolutely was, but it was so ahead of its time. Comparatively speaking to all of the PS2 games out then, Shadow of the Colossus was in another league for the breathtaking scale of the game. So when it was confirmed that Shadow of the Colossus would be remade and making its way onto the PlayStation 4, visually the game looks outstanding and those technical issues have been completely remedied. This is the definitive way to play Shadow of the Colossus. Do not go back and play the PS2 version. Pick up the PS4 version. It is tremendous. Bluepoint Games did one of the most iconic games justice, and that's something very difficult to do, but they absolutely nailed it with SOTC. And in my opinion, this is the best Team Ico game that they've put out. Shadow of the Colossus at a 91, absolutely deserved. Moving on from that, we have the game that I really consider to be the first true system-selling PlayStation 4 exclusive, and that is Bloodborne, sitting at a 92 on Metacritic. Of course, if you somehow have been living under a rock and you don't know about Bloodborne, it was a game done by From Software, the guys most popular for Souls, but they've worked on a couple of other titles as well. And yes, it's similar to Souls that it's a very challenging action-adventure title, but it's also got a fantastic setting, tremendous visuals, and the challenge is absolutely there, but at the same time, it's an incredibly rewarding game, and that's what Bloodborne does really well. The atmosphere and immersion level to this game is extremely high. It's just very easy to get absorbed into the world and lore of Bloodborne, and there's a reason why so many gamers are still clamoring for a Bloodborne 2. Hopefully at some point that happens, but if you've yet to play Bloodborne, come on, it's got a 92 on Metacritic for a reason. Moving on from that, here's an elite PlayStation 4 exclusive that has seemingly been forgotten about, and that is Uncharted 4: A Thief's End. That's at a 93 on Metacritic. It is still the best PlayStation 4 exclusive. I know some of you guys are going to disagree with me on that. Maybe you'll go with another game that we'll mention, but I still believe Uncharted 4 is a tremendous game. For a single-player experience, I don't think I've ever seen a game with better pacing than Uncharted 4. And then you talk about the depth in the gameplay, the variety, and then you cap off Nathan Drake's story in such a fantastic way. I can't say enough good things about Uncharted 4. I do want to see more Uncharted at some point, whether it be a story centered around Sam, whether it be more Nathan Drake. I think Uncharted is an IP with a lot of legs to it, so I do want to see it make a comeback at some point, but I can understand why Naughty Dog has stepped away from it for the time being. Still, if you've yet to play Uncharted 4, I know it's a little bit older of a PlayStation 4 exclusive. When gamers talk about the best PS4 exclusives, I feel like this is one that isn't brought up enough. It is a fantastic game, and if you've yet to experience the Uncharted franchise, of course, go ahead and check out the Nathan Drake trilogy and then pick up A Thief's End. It is a phenomenal game. Moving on from that, here is that PS3 and PS4 title. Persona 5 is at a 93 on Metacritic. Now, Persona 5 is absolutely incredible. If you've been following this channel for quite a while, I've gone as far as to say that this is the best JRPG of all time, and I know a lot of times gamers tend to say a lot of hyperbolic statements. With the case of Persona 5, it really has an argument to be the best JRPG ever. I mean, compared to the greatest JRPGs ever released, Persona 5 is right there with them, and why is that? It's because of the depth of the gameplay. There's so much to do, so much variety in it, and when you have an experience that's potentially 100 hours long, you need variety and you need to keep the player engaged, and Persona 5 absolutely does that. It nails the traditional turn-based gameplay while still keeping it fresh and welcoming for a game that was released in 2017, and then I don't even have to talk about the story. The story is excellent, just like what you would expect from a Persona title. This is a JRPG development masterclass, and every JRPG should take some form of inspiration from Persona 5. And lastly, number one, of course, the game that many gamers consider to be the best PlayStation 4 exclusive, and Metacritic agrees, God of War, and it's sitting at a 94. This is the highest rated PS4 exclusive, and God of War is a phenomenal game. God of War has been a franchise that's been around for quite a while, going back to the early PS2 days, but after the release of God of War Ascension, it really felt like the series was getting a little bit stale, even with God of War 3, but then Sony Santa Monica Studio went back to the drawing board and they put out God of War now in Norse mythology instead of Greek mythology, slower paced gameplay, a bigger emphasis on the atmosphere and the storytelling, and man oh man, they absolutely delivered with God of War. The story in the game is incredible, it's emotional, and some of the things this game manages from a technical standpoint is absolutely jaw-dropping. I didn't even think the PS4 was possible of some of these things, and it's even better on the PS4 Pro, which really accentuates the game even more. It's a great game, and of course with the conclusion of the title, we'll definitely be getting more God of War in the future, which I can't wait for. Again, I do have a fonder place in my heart for Uncharted 4, but with God of War, I'm definitely not giving it any slight whatsoever. It's definitely deserving of its number one spot. Those are the 10 highest rated PlayStation 4 exclusives ever at this point. We do have a lot of exciting exclusives on the horizon. Days Gone, Ghost of Tsushima, Death Stranding, Dreams I think has a lot of potential. There's just a lot of potential in the PlayStation 4 game library, and we've already seen a lot of that realized at this point. That's gonna conclude this video. Sound off with all of your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and if you're already subscribed, do us a favor and hit the bell icon. This way you'll be notified whenever we post a new video. That's the best way to keep up with all of our uploads, and we usually try to upload 2 videos a day. And with the bell icon hit, you'll be notified whenever we do upload a video. As always, thanks for watching.